Voice is my command. Here are 3 animals that look like they're the spawn of Satan, but actually harmless. First up, we've got the basking shark. Now, don't get me wrong, if I saw this daddy behind me while I was swimming, I'd shit the equivalent to an average human in 1 year in 1 second. But believe it or not, they're actually chill. They're one of the boys. Now, yes, their mouth is so wide that they could theoretically fit your entire extended family in there. They're a passive predator, mainly feeding on zooplankton. And you won't end up in here because they're really not interested in humans. Bit fucking rude, but However, that isn't me saying you should go up to one and give it a big fucking hug. Maybe keep your social distance for this one. Next up.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, what we do is we break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank you guys for the support, subscribing to the channel, hitting that post notification bell, man, and hitting that like button, man. That helps us grow, that helps us grow our community together. So really appreciate the support. Let's do what we do best. Seek the truth.
This woman filmed her own murder after her husband found out she was having an affair. On December 2021, a fight broke out between 60-year-old Carrie Birmingham and his 48-year-old wife Patricia after he found out that she had been having an affair. During the argument, Carrie pulled out his shotgun, pointed at Patricia, and threatened to take her life. Patricia began recording their fight, and the last thing her husband said to her before he pulled the trigger was that she was going to meet Jesus. Carrie pled guilty, and even though they had video evidence of what he did, he was only sentenced to 10 years in prison with the possibility of parole in 5 years. And the reason for this is because the laws in Texas allows for a reduction in punishment if the crime was committed in sudden passion, which in this case, Carrie found out about his wife's affair and quickly reacted in this way.
Should they change that law, man?
He took her life because of it. On September 20th of 2015, Fidel Lopez and his girlfriend Miranda were inside of his apartment drinking. Maria ended up getting very intoxicated and they both ended up in a closet.
Okay.
They began to have intercourse and Maria had said the name of her ex-husband twice. Once Fidel had heard what Maria said, he became enraged. At that point, Fidel left Maria in the closet while he went through the apartment and began to break things. He had shattered a glass door and punched holes into the wall. Fidel then went back into the closet and Maria was lying unconscious. Fidel then decided to insert a beer bottle, a hair straightener, and both of his fists inside of Maria. Maria started to bleed and Fidel stated this is when he became a monster. Fidel then admitted to pulling out Maria's intestines. Maria had never gained consciousness during this time. He then carried Maria to the bathroom to put water on her face, but she still did not wake up. Fidel then washed the blood off of his hands and went outside to smoke a cigarette. He started to panic and then went to the bathroom to check on Maria. She was no longer breathing, so that's when he decided to call 911. Maria was taken to the hospital and she was pronounced dead. Fidel was sentenced to life in prison and ended up taking a plea deal to avoid the death penalty.
This is proof we aren't alone. Okay, so this
disturbing
alien-looking
case.
creature was recently captured on video, and
Shapeshifter? We gotta see this. What the hell's that? Oh man. Is this an edit? Or is this legit?
I have no idea what this is, but it's absolutely terrifying. And this is also 4,000 feet in the ocean.
Ooh.
We need to talk.
4,000 feet? And you guys see, because you know we haven't even explored like half of the ocean, so that could be a possibility, man. Is that legit? Or is that cap? You guys know what to do.
about the smiling dog. The smiling dog is a demonic creature that looks like a dog but has human teeth. Photos of this creature were sent to people all over the world. And once a photo was seen, the smile dog would enter the viewer's dream. And in the dream, you'll feel a need to ask the creature one question. What do you want? Then the smile dog will always reply with spread the word. After that, you'll have 3 days to grant the smile dog's wishes. And if you don't send any videos or photos of the smile dog to someone else, the photo you receive will start to deform, showing you a much more disturbing version of the smile dog that some people think is its true form. Some people have even said the smile dog's nightmares are so bad that its victims avoid sleeping altogether, weakening their mind and making them even more vulnerable till the smile dog comes out of their dreams and into their reality to further torment them. So send this video to someone else to spread the word of the smile dog.
Y'all doing that, Seekers, man? Spreading that smile dog picture? I ain't received it, so I don't know if that's Patrick Cat. Edit.
Anytime I sort of revisit the story of Carly Gousset, I'm reminded that that is one of the most chilling stories that I've ever heard come out of California. This is Carly. She was pretty young at the time. She was only a junior in high school, and all of this took place up in Mono County. This is in California. Very, very rural. When I'm saying rural, I'm serious. Like, there's nothing out there. Carly didn't really have a lot of issues. I mean, most people reported that she was a pretty good kid, but in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, her friends noticed that she seemed paranoid. She felt like somebody was tracking her on her phone, but she never said who. Fast forward, she ends up going to a party. She does something at that party that I can't say, and then she has a complete meltdown, a total episode. She allegedly even bit her own boyfriend at the time and then ran off into the street, into the darkness before getting picked up by her stepmother. From what I read, it sounded like the parents pretty much stayed up with her all night because they were waiting for her to come down from whatever it was that she took. But she never did, and they never called 911. Come the morning, she was gone. She was not in the house. If these are stories that interest you, we've got a whole show on it. If you want to go check that out for a full episode. Only a handful of witnesses claim to actually see her. They saw her walking along the road towards the highway, and this is that highway. Like, it is, there's nothing out there, which means somebody must have put her in their car.
A man has been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter in connection with the death of ice hockey player Adam Johnson. The 29-year-old Nottingham Panthers player's throat was cut by an opponent's skate blade when they collided during a match. Johnson received immediate medical attention with CPR performed on the ice and was taken to hospital but could not be saved. Detectives arrested the suspect on Tuesday, who remains in custody.
Dirty animal facts.
I think I remember I seen that video trend on Twitter. It's just like, I don't know, it was just like trending everywhere. People have saying that the guy did it on purpose. And that was just a disturbing video, man. So looks like you got justice.
You wish you never knew. Part 4. When a scorpion loses its tail, it also loses its anus. So if you pick it up by its tail, or it decides to sting something and can't let go, also then losing its anus. Not sure how it goes to the bathroom then, but that's not my problem. Madagascar hissing cockroaches are so loud they can actually be mistaken for an oncoming train. So next time you're walking somewhere and you think that you hear a train, it may just be a few cockroaches having a party. Don't forget to like and follow if you enjoyed the series and want to see more.
Your wish is my command. Here are 3 animals that look like they're the spawn of Satan, but actually harmless. First up, we've got the basking shark. Now, don't get me wrong, if I saw this daddy behind me while I was swimming, I'd shit the equivalent to an average human in 1 year in 1 second. But believe it or not, they're actually chill. They're one of the boys. Oh yes, their mouth is so wide that they could theoretically fit your entire extended family in there. They're a passive predator, mainly feeding on zooplankton. And you won't end up in here because they're really not interested in humans. Bit fucking rude, but however, that isn't me saying you should go up to one and give it a big fucking hug. Maybe keep your social distance for this one. Next up, we've got what the fuck are you? This is an eye-eye. Now yes, if you were camping in the middle of the night and went out and saw this creature, I'd say you'd probably have a negative reaction. But this budget-ass gremlin and long middle finger is harmless. It doesn't go for humans, it goes for insects and grubs from tree trunks. You a fucking tree trunk? The worst it'll do is give you the biggest fuck-off middle finger of your life. Finally, we got the tailless whip scorpion. Oh yeah, quickly share the video, tag with a friend. Love ya! Now you may recognize it from Harry Potter, but this little shit hurts it. They're harmless and not even venomous. Even provoked, they're chill. Elon!
Crazy animal facts, alright. Especially about that scorpion. I ain't messing with any of that, bro. Can't believe if you pick it up with its tail, that means you're picking it up by its anus, man. The more you know. Tap in with us, man. You're gonna learn some facts.
Dad's TikTok videos help find his son's killer. This is 19-year-old Luis Carlos Laguna Jr., and he was born on September 8th of 2004. He was from Arlington, Texas, and he had a passion for music, dancing, and his Chevy Silverado.
Alright.
November 18th, 2023, Luis had attended a ranch party in Fort Worth, Texas with his friends. As they were leaving, they got into an argument with another group of individuals. It was strictly verbal, just arguing back and forth. The two groups ended up separating, and Luis had went on his way with his friends. They all hopped into Luis's truck, and as the truck was leaving, someone shot behind Luis's truck and struck Luis. Luis was then transported to a local hospital in critical condition, but unfortunately passed away. The medical examiner's office confirmed that his cause of death was a gunshot wound to his head. Brooklyn Police Department had stated that they were still looking for a suspect, and if anyone had any kind of information to please come forward. Weeks started passing by, weeks turned into months, and still they had nothing. Luis's father, Carlos Laguna Sr., had started to post videos on his TikTok. He would post videos about memories with his son, then he started to talk about his son's case. Carlos did this in hopes that it would reach the right person, and that person would come forward with any information about his son's killer. About 5 months after Luis's death, a detective called Carlos to let him know that they had found Luis's killer. That person is 20-year-old Martin Ramirez Lopez, and he is currently sitting in jail charged with the murder of Luis. Detectives mentioned to Carlos that his TikTok videos did help and that someone had came forward. One thing about Carlos, he was not going to give up. Rest in peace to Luis, and he'd never be forgotten.
DJ said
Power of
his
TikTok.
main motive was
Do
that
some
David
good too.
smoked too much of their weed. So on the night of the 13th, David, DJ, Bradley, and Austin were all over at his house. They were hanging out in that camper trailer, they were smoking, hanging out, and DJ gave Eric some kind of signal. And then Eric got up and he left the room. He didn't stay out of the room for more than a few minutes. So I don't know if he was curious about how the murder was going or what, but he came back to be with the others eventually. Except at this point when he came back in, David wasn't in the room. DJ, Austin, and Bradley had locked him in a bathroom. Now David didn't seem too worried at this point. He actually thought his friends were just kind of messing around with him, maybe playing a prank, you get it. But then they let him out of the bathroom. They turned off the lights and they started beating him. And that's when David got really scared. He apparently begged them to stop, but nobody would. They even used to start pistol whipping him. So once they found a pretty remote area, they pulled David out of the car, they walked him into the woods, laid him on the ground, and then DJ shot him in the head. At least, that's how things happened the first time that Eric told his story. But the police made him come in for 2 other interrogations. And each time Eric gave them a confession, it would change. One of the biggest differences was that a couple of times Eric said that the killer was not DJ. It was someone who was listed in the police report as AB. Those are Austin Barrett's initials. By now, the detectives were convinced that Eric was the ringleader in all of this. Even if they didn't know who actually fired the fatal shot, they still had no idea what the motive was for David's murder. But they were confident that Eric was behind all of it.
The
and
mastermind.
that Austin, DJ, and Bradley helped him pull off this crime, and then helped dump the body.
Riley Strain's mom finally gave an interview to News Nation, and she talked about the final text that was sent from Riley to her about his drink. People have not talked about this case in a couple of weeks, and this is a pretty big break considering we still don't have footage from inside the bar. If you need a refresher on the case, Riley Strain, he was a fraternity brother who was down on a trip with his frat. He was down in Nashville, and he was kicked out of a bar. See him on camera when he hits the street level. He is hammered. He's completely gone. He's wandering aimlessly. He's alone. Eventually, he would vanish that night, and then following a 2-week search, his body was found without his pants, washed up in the Cumberland River. And a lot of dust that was kicked up on this case because a lot of people wanted to know about that drink, and now we have confirmation from his mother. And again, it's a lot to pack into one video. If you want some backstory on this, I've got an episode on it. Riley had apparently texted his mom that his drink at the bar, something was wrong with it. Adds even more suspicion to the GHB theory.
Marcus married his 15-year-old.
See, cause that's why, man, when you out and you stepping away, man, if you don't cover your drink, it's best to just order a new one because you don't know the type of time that people are on nowadays. They could try to slip some of your drink, try to take advantage. It's not even worth it, man. When you out, get a new drink or don't leave it at all, man. Or better yet, don't even drink. I always want to be aware of my surroundings.
old stepdaughter. My heart goes out to her. She was way too young to be dealing with anything like this. And even though their finances don't sound like they were especially stable, they kept having children. I mean, think pregnancy after pregnancy, because by the time she was 26 years old, Elizabeth had given birth, and this is not an exaggeration, 11 times. Now, given that the first pregnancy was when she was 15, that works out to a baby every single year. I can't even imagine. It's literally like you're pregnant for 10 years straight. Yep. That would be horrific. I didn't mind being pregnant, but that would be horrific. I mean, it honestly would be hard on anyone, but she was also so young that it would make it that much more difficult. Marcus basically stole her childhood away from her in so many different ways.
Crazy. She had no chance to even live her life. 11 years? She was pregnant every 1 year, bro. It's a sick story, man.
On Monday, April 15th, 21-year-old Thomas Elliott was inside a Target pretending to shop when he first began following a woman around the store. This woman said that she was shopping for clothes for her grandbaby when she noticed Elliott was standing way too close to her. And then she saw that he was holding his phone in a weird angle, pointing straight at her. She said her first thought was that this man may have been trying to Bluetooth her information from her phone onto his phone. She gave him this weird look like, "What the hell are you doing?" So he backed off and apologized and said that he was only looking at clothes that was hung beside her. So this woman walked away and continued to shop, but she still felt like something was off. She then noticed he was getting really close to another woman in the store, the same way he was doing to her. She thought this was too much of a coincidence, so she followed him around at a distance and wanted to see what he was up to. At this point, she felt like this guy was being really suspicious, so she put her phone in the cup holder of her shopping cart and began recording. And that's when she caught Elliott bent down with his phone and put his camera underneath this woman's dress. Behind me is one of the most famous true crime cases ever. And to this day, it still remains unsolved. This one is called Who Killed JonBenét? And I am partnering with Lifetime to bring you guys the best of the best for true crime film. JonBenét was absolutely gorgeous, and she was in many beauty pageants. She had a loving mother and father, and also a brother. Unfortunately, JonBenét was mysteriously murdered. There were several accusations against the parents, but no one really knows the real truth. JonBenét was absolutely precious and so kind with her personality. She was loved by so many. This has been one of the most talked about true crime cases over the years. And to be honest, it's one of the most intense ones. I feel this Lifetime movie did a great job portraying this case, and I think it's one that everybody should watch. You guys can watch this at mylifetime.com/watchripped.
This picture famously surfaced from 1941 because something looks very off about it. This guy, a lot of people cite this picture as proof of time travel because not only does he seemingly look very modern and out of place, but he also appears to be holding a camera that's very small, too small for any commercial grade camera of 1941. But let me explain why this is debunked. The modern t-shirt he's wearing, it's a logo for the Montreal Maroons, which was a hockey team from the 40s. The glasses were also available. They had protective side shields in the 40s too. But what about that camera? It's small enough to be a digital camera, but they did not have commercial grade cameras that were this small in the 40s. Incorrect. Kodak confirmed of a rare model of a small portable camera that was limited, but it was available by 1941, which makes this photo completely plausible.
They debunked that quick. Could there still be more truth to that, or could they debunk it because they don't want nobody else looking into the truth? Dig deeper into that story. What do you guys think?
Who would think selling unlimited 10-cent beers to sports fans is a bad idea? Not the Cleveland Indians when they played against the Texas Rangers on June 4th.
10 cents? It's a deal of a lifetime.
This led to 60,000 cups of beer being sold to the 25,000 people in attendance. That was incredibly problematic because there were only 50 security guards.
It ain't going
Fans
well.
were growing increasingly intoxicated, throwing bottles and firecrackers on the field. There were flashers and streakers. And this all culminated in the 9th inning when a fan tried to steal a player's cap and the Rangers came to their teammates' defense. The fans rushed the field with knives, chains, and stolen stadium seats. Players defended themselves with bats as they retreated into their dugouts, and the umpire declared the Rangers the winner by forfeit. Though they would put a 2-cup per person limit, the next 10-cent beer night was a month later.
They kept doing it. They didn't even learn from their mistakes. It's crazy. They're doing that nowadays. You know that ain't happening.
Look at Miranda seeming uncomfortable while Dan is touching her.
What can't you say? I mean, honest to God, I could go on and
all
on
this stuff coming out about
all
him.
the wonderful qualities about Miranda, but I know time permits.
Like, why is he hugging her like that?
One thing. In all the years I've known Miranda, I guess 9 years now, she hasn't changed. Miranda hasn't changed one bit. All those awesome qualities.
Like the need to touch her?
9 years old. All the goodness, all those smiles.
Let me know if I'm overreacting. And make sure you hit that follow button, because I have a whole deep dive coming.
Oh, he being
Breaking news
exposed.
in the case of what some are calling the Milwaukee serial killer. As you may remember, earlier this month, a critical missing persons warning was issued for Sade Robinson. She was last seen on Monday, April 1st. The following morning, authorities were notified about a car fire near her home. After further investigation, authorities were able to determine that the vehicle fire was that of Robinson's. Later that day, authorities say a community member located a leg in a park. This park was less than 10 miles away from Robinson's home. Furthermore, authorities said that Robinson went on a date on April 1st, the same day that she went missing. Authorities say that the two met at a restaurant where the suspect worked. The bartender who used to work there with the suspect said that they were seen having, quote, casual conversations. This was before leaving together. The two then reportedly went to another bar before they went back to the suspect's home. On Friday, 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson was charged in connection with the crime. The following day, the Sheriff's Department located another body part near the scene of the car fire. During the weekend that followed, additional remains were also located near a site where the remains had been discovered on April 5th. Authorities said cell phone data ultimately led them to the arrest. After taking the suspect into custody, they said that there was BLOOD located inside of his home. However, they have now released information stating that that BLOOD is not the victim's. A lieutenant who is a former Milwaukee investigator and who also worked on the Jeffrey Dahmer case said that this is not surprising to him. He said, quote, they haven't said whose BLOOD it is, but it could be his. He finished by saying, quote, I don't think this leads to the suspicion that there are other victims out there. At this time, he has pled not guilty and is being held on a $5 million bond. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
Here's 5 celebrities who didn't know killed somebody and what exactly went down. The last 2 are particularly weird and creepy. Tennis superstar Venus Williams got into a car accident in June 2017, which left 1 man dead. Williams was driving in Palm Beach, Florida, when she rushed into an intersection despite not having the right of way, and she was T-boned by the car. The car's driver survived, but her husband, 78-year-old man, was sent to the ICU, where he died 2 weeks later. Alec Baldwin discharged a prop gun that led to the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of his movie Rust in New Mexico on October 21st, 2021.
Saw that.
Authorities with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said that they were investigating the incident and trying to determine what type of projectile was discharged exactly. No charges have been made since the incident, and Baldwin, who was both a star and producer for the film, cooperated with authorities. Baldwin even released a statement the day after the incident to let the public know how devastated he was, as well as the fact that he was fully cooperating with the police investigation and that he was in touch with the late cinematographer's family and husband. In 1993, Snoop Dogg and his bodyguard were charged with the murder of a rival gang member. Snoop was defended by attorney Johnny Cochran and was acquitted after years and years of court battles. In 1978, Sex Pistols bassist Sid Vicious fatally stabbed his girlfriend Nancy Spungen. When he was first questioned, he claimed to have found her dead on the bathroom floor of their hotel room, but he later admitted that he had stabbed her but didn't actually intend to kill her. Although he was charged with her murder, Vicious never actually stood trial as he died of a drug overdose while out on bail. In 2012, Smallville and Sons of Anarchy actor Johnny Lewis broke into the home of an 81-year-old woman called Catherine David, ransacked her home, and then killed her and her cat. He was never questioned as he actually fell or jumped from a roof and died straight after. It was later revealed that he had been born into a Scientologist family and worked for the church's drug rehab group, Narconon. Despite a history of drug abuse, though, the autopsy report showed that he actually had no drugs or alcohol in his system at the time of his death.
It's like there's some dark secrets, man, behind the Hollywood wall, man, that I learned every single day watching these videos, you guys. That first story you saw, I never even knew something like that even happened, man, to the Williams sisters. Damn, Hollywood is, it's like so dark, man, behind the scenes. You gotta seek the truth, man.
Have you ever heard the crazy story on how the show To Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen got canceled? If you've never seen that show before, it was so ahead of its time. So basically, Chris Hansen and his team would go online and pretend to be children or teenagers and chat with online predators, and then invite the creeps over, saying like, my parents aren't home. Then the creeps would go over to what they thought was a child's home, but be greeted with Chris Hansen and get arrested. Typically the men that they would catch on the show would be lowlifes with no real influence in society at all. Until Texas District Attorney Bill Conrad started chatting with one of the show's online decoys, sending inappropriate photos to what he thought was an underage boy. On every single episode of the show, they had to convince these online creeps to actually meet up in person. But Bill didn't want to meet in person. This is complete speculation, but I'm assuming that the network knew that catching a district attorney on their show would be really good for ratings. And since Bill did not want to meet, they took camera crew, police officers, SWAT teams, and raided Bill's home. This is unlike anything the show had done before. And with cameras rolling, before they were even able to speak with him, Bill Conrad unalived himself. People that were at the scene apparently immediately started talking about how this was going to make really good TV. And Dateline did go on to air an episode that featured Bill. But there was some controversy, of course. The judge that signed the search and arrest warrant apparently said that they were never made aware that a reality TV show was involved in this arrest at all, and said if they had known, they would never have signed it. Experts have also said that the raid was unnecessary drama for the cameras and put everyone involved in unnecessary danger, and that the investigation was just rushed in general because this was reality TV and they wanted a quick turnaround for the episode. Bill's sister did go on to file a wrongful death lawsuit against NBC, which was settled for an undisclosed amount. And within months of this all happening, the very popular TV show was canceled. There's so much controversy about how this all went down, but what do you think? And if you were a fan of this show, did you ever hear about this before?
Canceled it, man, because they caught somebody person involved. And they tried, and it wrongly, man. They tried to catch it, but when that money got involved, man, they tried to do it for ratings. It seems like they kind of lost focus on what it really was supposed to be about, man. Like she said, that was ahead of its time. I imagine how would a show like that go like today, in today's society? It's sad, but they probably have episodes probably like every day. Crazy. Seekers, that's it, man, for this video for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, man. Like I said, if you guys been checking out my style, kind of been, you know, cutting back on the chatting, man, just letting the videos play out and saying my thoughts until afterwards, cutting down on the pausing as well, man. I'm just trying to make the viewing experience just the best for you guys. You deserve the best, and I want to continue to get better and better with each video going forward. Guys, stick with me, man. Hit that like button, subscribe button, hit that post notification bell. Also follow my socials down below, man. So let's go to Seekers. That's how we can connect and stay together, man. You guys can catch it in the next one. I'm out. Peace, YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikToks, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank the supporters, man, who's been subscribed to the channel, hitting that post notification bell, hitting that like button, man. You're helping us grow our community, man, the Seekers. So I really appreciate that support, man. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, man. Seek the truth.
This girl took her mom's life on Facebook Live. On January 8th of this year, 28-year-old Nancy Orris Beltran went with her mom, 55-year-old Olivia Lucia Beltran, to a Santa Rosa police station. Nancy needed to go there because she needed to pick up her vehicle after it was impounded following an earlier chase. While at the police station, she filmed herself waving an open pocket knife in front of everybody. An officer stated that she was too mentally unstable to drive, but they still let her go home. At 5 p.m. that same day, Nansen was on Facebook Live when she stabbed her mother.
Wow.
Viewers of the live ended up contacting police to let them know what they had just witnessed. When officers arrived to the scene, they noticed that Nansen was on her balcony holding a knife in her hand. Right next to her was her mother, and her clothes were just soaked in blood. Nansen failed to respond to commands, so a group of officers broke through the front door and she was arrested. Olivia suffered from numerous stab wounds and was rushed to a local hospital. Unfortunately, the surgeons were unable to overcome the extensive life-threatening injuries and she passed away. Detectives worked with Meta/Facebook and had the video removed. Nansen was arrested on one count of murder and was being held without bail at Marin County Jail. To this day, there is still no clear motive on why she did this to her mother.
This man willingly allowed himself to be eaten alive by a cannibal. 43-year-old Armando Brands was an engineer from Berlin who always fantasized about being cannibalized by another human being. So, in 2001, he began searching the website Cannibal Cafe, which was, yes, a legitimate website, for anyone willing to cook him and eat him. On the Cannibal Cafe website, that Brands met 30-year-old computer technician Armin Meiwes. Armin also had a fantasy of cannibalizing human flesh, and so over the next few weeks, him and Brands messaged each other back and forth, discussing the best way to cook Brands' flesh and then dispose of his body after they were done. Finally, on March 9, 2001, Armando traveled to Armin's apartment and willingly allowed himself to be tied up before Armin began to try and chew off Armando's penis. Armin found that the penis was too chewy to bite off, so he instead castrated Armando with a knife before frying his severed penis in olive oil and then feeding it to him. After this, Armin proceeded to kill Armando by stabbing him in the neck and letting him bleed out in the bathtub for over 3 hours before he finally succumbed to his wounds. After Armando died, Armin proceeded to cut up his body into large chunks, storing them in a freezer, and over the next 6 months, he would consume over 44 pounds of Armando's flesh. Armin would be caught 6 months later after looking for another victim on the Cannibal Cafe website. Now, at first, prosecutors weren't sure how to go about this case because Armando willingly allowed all this to happen, and they know this because Armin recorded the entire thing. The castration, eating of the penis, and the entire time Armando was telling Armin that he wanted more. However, since people can't consent to their own murder, Armin was eventually found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. However, to this day, he still gets weekly visits out to the city where he can roam about and do as he pleases.
How the hell can he just get weekly roamings? And a website like that, man, actually existed. Blow my damn mind, man. Nowadays, man, I shouldn't be surprised, but you probably type in anything around the web, it'll pop right back up, man. Stuff that shouldn't even be allowed, like cannibalism. Somebody want to be eaten online, and they found it just like that. It's internet, man. It gives you too much easy access to things we shouldn't have.
Because you are guilty, aren't you? Are you guilty, sir?
I accept my plea. Exactly.
Much as it was my honor and privilege to hear the sister survivors, it was my honor and privilege to sentence you. Because, sir, you do not deserve to walk outside of a prison ever again. You have done nothing to control those urges. The decision to assault was precise, calculated, manipulative, devious, despicable. I'm giving you 175 years, which is 2,100 months. I just signed your death warrant.
Damn.
I need everyone to be quiet.
These villagers dig up.
Wasn't I think I remember seeing that case. Wasn't he like already? But didn't he work with like the Olympic team or something like that? And how he had that many access, man, because he was like a sports coach or something. And he got what he deserved. She signed, like she said, she signed his death warrant, man. They were clapped as they should have been.
Up their dead family members every 3 years, and you won't believe why. These people are from a village in Indonesia, and during the Reindeer festival, they get their ancestors' corpses, clean them, then put them all out to dry, and dress them in new clothes as a ritual. And the reason is because they believe they're showing them love and respect.
different cultures have different, they do different things, but it's kind of bizarre, man. Could you guys do that? I can't even think about doing that, burying up, digging up your loved ones.
The legend of Bunnyman Bridge. In 1904, not far from this bridge in Fairfax County, Virginia, was a mental asylum. Nearby residents didn't like the fact that mental patients were near their new homes, so they had it shut down. While the patients were being transported, their bus crashed and all were found except for one, a patient named Douglas Griffin, who disappeared into the nearby woods. In the upcoming weeks, bodies of rabbits were found strewn about the woods as if someone was eating them. On Halloween night, Douglas Griffin struck and killed a group of teenagers that were hanging out underneath of the bridge. They were gutted and hanged like dead rabbits. Now there is a ton of variations of this urban legend, but there is a slight bit of truth behind the origin of it. There was a police report from 1970 that said a person dressed in all white threw a hatchet at somebody's car. And the person had something on their heads, and that is where people filled in the blanks with it being rabbit ears. There was another report of a man running around with a hatchet and a bunny suit also in 1970. Who knows, maybe there really was a killer bunny man.
This man has been sentenced to 100 years in prison
it?
after doing the unthinkable to his daughter. Tony Valles is a 66-year-old from Helena. On the 10th of July 2022, he was at home with his partner Heather. Tony's 8-year-old daughter Ariana and his 18-year-old son were also at the house at the time. Suddenly, two women entered the property who he believed were evicting him. He flew into a violent rage and grabbed a weapon from his bedroom. At this point, he began shooting. He shot Heather and she fell to the floor, and then he shot at his son. His 8-year-old daughter tried to escape and run from the terror, but she was hit with gunfire. She was on the stairs when she was hit by a bullet and she fell back. She tragically died after being rushed to hospital. After his daughter's death, Tony stated, "I'm sorry for all this. I can't undo what I've done. The pain and the misery will last a lifetime, and I'm sorry for all that." Tony was sentenced to serve 100 years in prison.
This is the most unsettling show I've seen.
Disturbing things.
Netflix just released a show called Baby Reindeer, where a man named Donnie is relentlessly stalked by a middle-aged woman named Martha. But it's based on a real story, and the guy it happened to is playing the main character. So let's talk about the real events the show portrays. So in the show, Martha's obsession with Donnie starts after he offers a cup of tea for free. And according to the creator, that is really what started her 4-year obsession with him. Also, over the course of the stalking, the real Martha sent the creator 41,071 emails, 744 tweets, 46 Facebook messages, 106 pages of letters, and 350 hours of voicemail
She was
messages.
dedicated.
And the real texts and emails are featured in the show. One of the saddest real details of the show is that the creator does go to the police to try to report Martha, and they totally brush him off. They just don't feel like she's enough of a threat, even though she's showing up to all of his comedy shows, she's sending him that many messages, and she fully believes they're in a relationship. And the show is really interesting in that it portrays the gray area that the creator, Richard Gadd, faced while experiencing being stalked. This is a bit of a spoiler, but he himself was a survivor of sexual assault, so in a way, this kind of undying love was something that he craved. And in interviews, he says that he's not purely a victim, that this situation is really gray because sometimes he would indulge in the attention that she gave him. It's definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it already. It does get very intense at times, but let me know if you've seen it.
I seen that scrolling through Netflix a couple times on the recommended, but I really didn't know what it was about. But now that she broke it down for us, man. Any fellow seekers, they gonna check it out, man? Should I check it out? You guys can leave a review. I might have to check that out. Edit. Call it like I see it.
His life was taken for laugh reacting to a Facebook photo.
No way.
This is 18-year-old Isaiah Craig Fitzgerald, and he was from Missouri. On May 25th of 2023, Isaiah had came across this photo of 20-year-old Tanner Watkins and his girlfriend. He reacts to the Facebook photo with a laughing emoji. Tanner ends up responding to Isaiah saying, "What's funny?" and an argument begins. Tanner then ends up telling Isaiah that they should meet at a park to fight after a heated exchange. At the agreed upon location, shots were fired from both vehicles. Isaiah was fatally shot and his girlfriend was seriously wounded. Police had responded to the scene after receiving reports of gunfire and they stopped both vehicles as they were leaving. Isaiah was pronounced dead and his girlfriend was transported to a local hospital where doctors treated her injuries. Officers ended up confiscating weapons from both vehicles. Tanner and 18-year-old Caleb Ramsey were both taken into custody. Both pled not guilty to all charges and were acquitted in December of 2023. The judge had ordered a mistrial after the jury could not agree on a verdict. Tanner and Caleb were charged with 3 counts of murder, 3 counts of assault, unlawful use of a weapon, and 4 counts of armed criminal action.
The most terrifying prisoners of all time. This is Jaime Osuna, the man with 1,000 faces. In 2017, Jaime was sentenced to life in prison for the 2011 murder and torture of a woman from Bakersfield. During his court case, you can see him smirking, rolling his eyes, and mocking the family of the deceased, even giving a thumbs up as the judge announces his sentence. From there, he is transported to Corcoran State Prison, where things got worse. Way worse. He is given a cellmate, Luis Romero, who had spent more than 2 decades in prison himself. On March 9th, 2019, guards checked their cell and find the most gruesome scene. Romero had been beheaded and several of his body parts were removed and fashioned into a necklace worn by Jaime. Ha 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 had been written on the wall in blood, as well as the man with 1,000 faces.
Someone that freaking dangerous, man. He had to be probably put into solitary, like, as soon as he got there, man. Because obviously during the case you showed, saying they were showing no remorse, man, putting a thumbs up during the trial, and telling, man, those are the most dangerous people, man, who can do an action like that have no remorse. And look what happened. The man with 1,000 faces, man. Crazy. Haha, bro. That's something like the Joker would do.
Prosecutors in the Bryan Kohberger case have said that they are not buying his alibi. Kohberger's defense has spent months giving very few details about his alibi, essentially only saying that he was out driving around the night of the murders and that nobody could corroborate this. But then a couple weeks ago, they said that they have an expert witness that can testify about Kohberger's cell phone movements the night of the murders, placing him away from the house. But prosecutors are not buying it, and specifically, they said, quote, the defendant's alibi lacks specificity and state the specific place or places at which the defendant claims to have been at the time of the alleged offense, and the names and addresses of the witnesses upon whom he intends to rely to establish such alibi, according to Idaho Code 19-519. So essentially, the prosecution is saying that Kohberger's alibi is not specific enough, and just because an expert witness can testify about his cell phone movements does not mean that it's a corroborating alibi, and that they need specific witnesses to be able to verify his alibi for it to be a proper alibi. The next hearing for the case has been scheduled for May 2nd. Other updates in the Kohberger case include that prosecutors are also moving to have the following hearing after the May 2nd hearing on May 14th be under seal. This is essentially to protect the information that is being disseminated to the public that could potentially taint the jury pool. And speaking of the potential jury pool, the judge has ruled that the defense can continue their surveys of the potential jury pool to determine if the potential jury pool knows about Bryan Kohberger, because the defense is trying to get a change of venue. But that's all for the latest updates with Bryan Kohberger. Things are just continuing to slowly move along.
The longest prison sentence in history. At number 5 is Joseph Legend. He has served 67 years and 54 days in prison, and he was released earlier this year. He was convicted of murder at the age of 15. He was released at 83. At number 4 is Joseph Phillips, who served 68 years and 236 days. He was convicted in 1952 of raping a 5-year-old girl. He was paroled in March 2021. Third, with only 9 more days in prison, is Paul Goodell Jr. He served 68 years and 245 days. He was incarcerated in 1911 at the age of 17. He was released in 1980 at the age of 86.
Once released, he died in a retirement home 7 years later at the age of 93.
Oh, that time,
in second place, and the only non-American on the list, is an Australian man by the name of Charles Fawcett. He was sentenced to life imprisonment after murdering an elderly man and stealing his boots. And before number one, right, I'll go to prison next in the comments and leave your autocorrect finished. He'll write that you'll go to jail. And in number one, it's Francis Clifford Smith. He's currently serving 72 years and 90 days. He was also sentenced to death for the murder of a night watchman on his way out of a nightclub. But his sentence was changed to life imprisonment in 1954, 2 hours before his scheduled execution. He was lucky.
Just like all that time gone. Basically, if you get over 50 or 60 years, that's a life sentence, man. So once you get out, all that time's wasted, man. Think before you act.
Signs of a societal collapse in a country are so often things you would never even think about. For example, a shocking study was recently published showing a concerning rise in people being found so long after death in the UK that their body had decomposed. And we're not talking about just days and weeks here. The study cited a number of cases like 38-year-old Laura Winham, who struggled with mental health problems and was found in a mummified, almost skeletal state at her flat in 2021, more than 3 years after she had died. She passed away in 2017, 3 years before the pandemic even began. The body of another 61-year-old woman, Shalia, was found badly decomposed in her flat in London in 2022, 2 years after she had died. The study said that men were more than twice as likely as women to be discovered long after death in a decomposed state, and also linked this tragic trend to loneliness, societal breakdown, and a loss of people's social connection. And that is sadly why
a 20-year-old cold case has had a major breakthrough after an eerie twist led to police identifying a teenage girl's remains. Midtown Jane Doe was found mysteriously entombed in cement in a former New York hotspot during construction in 2003. Investigators believe she was fatally strangled, bound with electrical wire, and wrapped in a carpet before being cemented into the building's basement. Now, Midtown Jane Doe has been identified as Patricia Kathleen McGlone, a girl from Brooklyn who was last seen in the late 1960s. DNA from a woman killed in the 9/11 attacks, also named Patricia, helped authorities identify the girl, as the two were related.
Gruesome facts
They both had the name Patricia, man, and that link is what led to that case breaking all those years ago. The things that they freaking line up in the universe in order for that to happen. This is crazy if you think about it.
You didn't know, part 262. On August 17th of 1980, 9-week-old Azaria Chamberlain disappeared from the tent during a family camping trip. Mother Lindy reported she saw a wild dog leaving the tent and believed that her baby had been taken by dingoes in the Australian outback. Despite a frantic search, nothing was found and no body was ever discovered. Extensive press coverage of the incident portrayed the couple as monsters, and they received multiple death threats. Believing that the police were feeding information to the media, the entire court case was a madhouse and the public opinion hugely divided. Some believing they murdered their own child, others believing that dingoes really did take their baby. Their religious background stirred up rumors that cult-like activity had taken place, and at the time, dingoes were not generally seen as dangerous. But despite all the horrible and negative publicity, Lindy and husband Michael continued to plead their innocence. But on October 29th of 1982, she was sentenced to life in prison for murder, with Michael being charged as an accessory and sentenced to 18 months. After she spent 4 long years in prison and had no more legal routes to take, new evidence was discovered. Azaria's jacket was found partially buried in a highly populated dingo area. This led to her prison release in 1988, and both her and Michael were completely exonerated of all charges. In 2012, a coroner issued the final report on the case, confirming that their baby had been taken and eaten by dingoes.
So she was right all along, man. It goes to show you how sometimes, like, public opinion, it's a powerful thing, man, because if you get the public on your side, it can get people to believe anything, even if it's untrue. Scary times we live in.
Breaking news, the remains of 6 women have been found inside of a man's apartment.
Authorities say the investigation began when he allegedly broke into a neighbor's apartment on April 16th. From there, he essayed and strangled a 17-year-old girl. The victim's mother returned home shortly after and saw the man leaving. It was at that point he slashed her throat and then fled. According to authorities, the mother was able to survive, however, the daughter did not. With the mother's assistance, they were able to identify the suspect only as, quote, Miguel. After the incident, they searched his apartment and, quote, clearly indicated we are looking at a possible serial killer of women. Authorities also confirmed that notebooks were located that, quote, may well be narrations of the acts that Miguel carried out against his victims. In addition, they found cell phones and ID cards belonging to multiple women. They said that 5 of the ID cards found belonged to women who have been located alive. However, they did not specify how many belonged to women who are still missing or deceased. Prosecutors did confirm that there were remains of 6 women found in his rented room. Quote, other biological material was also found in the rooms. In addition to the ID cards and cell phones found, they also found bones, B-L-O-O-D, and a saw. At this time, authorities have not provided any further details. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments.
This is a cannibal that used the gay dating app Grindr to find victims so he could eat them. So on Christmas Eve 2019, 25-year-old Kevin Bacon told his roommate that he was going out for the evening to meet up with a man that he had recently been talking to on the dating app Grindr. Now, after 3 days, Kevin failed to come home or contact any of his friends or family, and they started to get worried, and they eventually went to the police to issue a missing person warning. Later on the day that he was reported missing, Kevin's car was actually found abandoned in a parking lot, along with all of his clothes and his cell phone. Using his cell phone, police were able to actually access his Grindr account and see that the last person he had messaged on there was a man named Mark Lytowski. Police were able to track down Mark Lytowski, and they asked him if they could look around his house for a bit, and he actually happily agreed. However, when police went down to the basement, they made an absolutely horrific discovery. Hanging from the rafters by his ankles was the nude body of Kevin Bacon. His throat had been slashed, his body had been drained of blood, and most shocking of all, he had actually been castrated. Upon further questioning, Mark happily admitted that he had actually castrated Kevin and then fried up his testicles and ate them, and that he was planning to use a food dehydrator on the rest of Kevin's body so he could preserve it and eat it later. After Mark was arrested for the death of Kevin, police actually discovered that he had had several previous run-ins with the law in the months leading up to the death. 2 men on 2 previous occasions actually called 911 stating that they had escaped from Mark's basement after he drugged them, tied them up, and was planning to torture them. In both cases, police just chalked it up to a gay dispute, and they didn't actually look further into it. Mark was quickly found guilty of Kevin's death, and now he's currently serving life in prison.
This man vanished from the top of a mountain in New York and was found 6 days later in California with no memory how he got there. This is easily one of the most bizarre disappearances and reappearances that I've ever heard of. If you've never heard of this story before, buckle up because it's wild. 49-year-old Canadian firefighter Danny was skiing at White Base Mountain in New York when he vanished. It was the last day of their ski trip. All of Danny's friends had gotten tired and had headed back down to the ski lodge to wait for Danny, who wanted to do one more trip down the mountain, but Danny never returned. Danny was missing on top of one of the highest mountains in the area. Everyone's thinking that there must have been some kind of terrible accident. All of Danny's belongings are still back at his resort: his car, his passport, his ID, his phone. A huge manhunt was being done on the mountain, but as the days went by, the chances of finding Danny alive were slim. Then, 6 days after he vanished, Danny was found alive on the complete other side of the country, over 2,500 miles away in California. Danny was still wearing the ski outfit that he disappeared in 6 days earlier, with a new haircut, a new cell phone, and no memory of the past 6 days. Eventually, Danny was able to recall that he believes that he was the passenger in a big rig truck at one of those points and thought that he must have suffered some kind of head injury. But he had an examination at a hospital that found that he had 0 injuries at all. Extensive investigations were done in both California and New York that brought forth no answers. 6 months after Danny disappeared, he was able to recall a couple more big details, but honestly it wasn't much. Now here are some of the most highly believed theories that you can find online. Could Danny have gotten a concussion on the mountain that resulted in some kind of memory loss? It sounds plausible, but a lot of doctors that have looked at this case have said that it's unlikely because memory loss after head trauma usually only lasts at most
48 hours, not 6 days. And apparently Danny didn't even have any injuries to begin with when he was found. Some also believe that maybe Danny was abducted by aliens who dropped him back off on the wrong side of the country. Some people also believe that maybe Danny wanted to disappear on purpose and start a new life, but then got cold feet. Honestly, I have no idea what I think happened. This story for real sounds like something out of fiction. To this day, we still have no idea what happened to Danny during those 6 days that he was missing, but let me know what you think happened in the comments.
As well, man, drop it down below. What do you guys think happened? He was at the top of the mountain 6 days later, unscathed, on the opposite side of the country, man. Like they said, memory loss. They say aliens abducted him. I mean, you never know. He could have fell through a port or something. I don't know. I'm definitely going to have to check into that, man. Try to see the reports. See if he, like you said, he recalls some more vague details about it. We definitely got to check that one out. You guys, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a truth seeker, seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, tell me down below, guys, if you guys liking this new style that I'm trying out, man. Like I said, I'm saving my thoughts until after the video plays. I'm trying to pause way less. If you guys can see with the past couple of videos, I've paused way less, man. And like I said, I'm just trying to bring you guys the best content I possibly can. I'm trying to grow this community, seekers. I believe we can do this, man. So I just need you guys' help by spreading the word, man. If you just subscribe to the channel, hit that post notification bell, hit that like button, man. You guys are doing me a huge favor. You guys gonna catch in the next one, man. We're doing daily uploads this month as well. Might even get double on some days. I don't know yet. I'm out. Peace, seekers.